Apple finally gave us a lower price, large screen MacBook, and I think that it's gonna be the best-selling MacBook for the remainder of 2023. But with that said, if you watched their WWDC announcement, there are a lot of things that they flat out did not mention. So if you're thinking about buying one of these, here are 9 things that you need to know, especially if you haven't bought a Mac for a while. Now, the first one has got to do with the price tag. When Apple showed off that $1299 price, most of us were really surprised. Now, if that seems like it's just $100 more than when Apple launched the M2 13-inch MacBook Air, well, that is not exactly correct. While the M2 13-inch Air did launch at $1199, that model actually was binned, meaning that it had less performance with that M2 chip. And if you wanted to unlock the full performance, you would have to spend an extra $100, bringing up to that same $1299 that the 15-inch just launched at. Now, I was expecting the same thing for the 15-inch, and I was surprised when I went to the order page and I didn't see that little upgrade, but instead, it says that it comes with a full 10-core GPU, which is awesome. Now, Apple did lower the price of the 13-inch by $100, so technically there's a $200 base starting difference, but if you're ordering spec for a spec with the same performance, it's only a $100 difference, and that is incredible. Now, the second thing that they didn't mention, and of course they wouldn't say this, is that you can actually buy the 15-inch right now from Amazon for $50 off, both for the base model and the upgraded SSD option. I'll go ahead and leave the link down below, but the reason I'm mentioning this is because a lot of people don't know that you can buy it from Amazon and you get the same exact warranty, and you could still get Apple Care on the device even if you don't buy it from Apple, which is why a lot of people just go to Apple to buy it because they're not informed. And there's some other good news about Apple Care that I'll cover in just a bit. Now, the third thing is the performance. Now, yes, the 15-inch has the same M2 chip as the 13-inch MacBook Air. It is also fanless, but when you go over their spec page, they list the same performance for both machines. But from what we have found is that the M2 13-inch MacBook Air does throttle quite a bit and fairly fast if you're putting in heavy loads, because of its thin and light design, especially with that redesign. But with the 15-inch model, this thing is going to be a little bit thicker. It's also larger, and the way that the cooling works is that chip heats up and then the heat spreads across the chassis, so you will get a little bit more performance. Now, we actually did a video getting better performance from the 13-inch using multiple different methods, and some of them were super simple, that just attaching a pad to the bottom or putting on a laptop stand, and we got into some crazier ones. So if you guys want to see that, we'll have that linked at the end of the video. As for number 4, we have battery size. Now, at the event, Apple said that this thing gets 18 hours of battery life, just like the 13-inch model. And that disappointed some people because we were all expecting better battery life from this larger device. Now, what they did not mention is the actual size. And if we dig through the fine details in the compare tool, that is where we find the watt hours. The 15-inch has a 66.5 watt-hour battery compared to 52.6, and that is over 26% larger. Now, what's weird with Apple is that they like to have these battery life kind of points that they just show off. For example, with the Apple Watch, they have the same battery life across many generations, whereas in the real world, the Series 7 had way better real-world battery than Series 6, and 8 got even better, but they quote it the same. And the same thing goes for the M1 13-inch MacBook Air. It has quite a bit of smaller battery, but they rate it the same. And of course, that is with video playback, with lower brightness, not on the web. So that number is not accurate. And what we have seen is with these larger batteries, your real-world battery life will actually be better. So if you're trying to decide between different models, keep that in mind. The 15-inch one will be really great. The fifth thing they didn't mention is that there is a new charging adapter, and you have to be very careful with what you purchase, and I will explain. When they launched this new machine and we went to the website, we saw that there's a 70-watt adapter that is now available, and it replaces their previous slightly lower one, and that is probably to get to 50% charge in 30 minutes on this new machine. Now, if you're getting a base 13-inch Air, you actually have to pay an additional $20 to get that fast charger, or you have the option of the dual charger, whereas with the 15-inch, that doesn't cost you anything extra, and you don't have that very slow limited charger as an option. So that makes the 15-inch an even better value. But what I have to point out to you guys is that if you don't know which one you should choose, and the dual charger sounds really good, it's a 35 watt, right? So if you double that, well, that seems like it's a 70 watt, but that's not the case. Even on the full page for this charger, they don't really give you any additional information about it, which I think kind of sucks. They don't tell you this, that if you are using this compact dual charger and you plug in your Mac along with the iPhone or an iPad, each device will receive just 17.5 watts of charging, and that is going to take a very long time compared to 70 watts. You guys see that difference? It is massive. So what I would say is, even though this seems convenient, get that 70 watt one, because you can always plug your iPhone or iPad directly into the MacBook itself and plug that in. That is a much better deal. Now, the next one is that the brand new 2023 15-inch Air does not come with Wi-Fi 6E, and I will explain why this is kind of weird. Now, it does have Bluetooth 5.3, which is great if you're going to be pairing it with the new Apple Watch or with new AirPods, but it still has Wi-Fi 6, just like the M2 13-inch, which came out about a year ago or so. Now, you would say, well, it has the same M2 chip, but the weird thing is that the M2 Mac Mini that starts at $599 or even $499 with an educational discount actually has Wi-Fi 6E built into it. So this seems more like a software lock than an actual good reason to do that. Now, if you say you don't need Wi-Fi 6E, well, I actually made a full video comparing Wi-Fi 6E in a Mac compared to older one, like the 15-inch or older chipset with Wi-Fi 6. And even if you have Wi-Fi 5, the speed difference that I got was absolutely incredible. And the same thing with the range, because the Mac Mini or the other Macs that have Wi-Fi 6E capability, the Wi-Fi 5 still has twice the bandwidth available with better reception. So if you're trying to consider maybe an M2 Pro 14-inch or the 15-inch, definitely you want to consider this. As for number 7, the next thing they did not mention is that the base 256GB model doesn't have the same performance as the 512 gig and above. Now, I know why Apple would not want to tell you this, and if you've been following our channel last year when the 13-inch launched, we took that thing apart and we saw that it only had one SSD wafer chip on there instead of 2. Now, the significance of that is the transfer speed is about half. And you might say, I don't need big fast transfer speed, but in real world performance, if you're transferring large files, it can slow down dramatically worse than half. And then if you're multitasking, you have a couple programs open and some web browsing tabs, your real world performance also goes down because the SSD is used for swap memory. Now, people have asked, why would Apple do this whereas the M1 based products didn't have this issue? Well, the M1 required 2 little SSD chips, whereas the M2 is built to not require it. And if we look at the prices for SSD chips, the 128GB one actually costs more than a 256. So if Apple used 2 of these like they did before, it would more than double the cost compared to just using one. So they're definitely saving money. but I wish at least they told you the performance difference on their website. So I would strongly recommend upgrading to 512. Now, number 8 is a positive one, and it has to do with Apple Care. Now, if you haven't bought a Mac for a while, you might think you have to go to Apple, you have to prepay a bunch of money, but that is not the case. The program's gotten way better. First off, if you buy on Amazon, you don't even have to add Apple Care there or any other warranties. Once you get your Mac, you could just go into your system settings and in general, and it will give you how many days you have left to buy it, and you can buy it right there from at home. And the cool thing is you can now get it within 60 days of your new Mac instead of 30, and even cooler than that, it no longer expires after 3 years, where a lot of Macs will be just fine, but you can have it run indefinitely if you keep the Mac for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. It'll basically keep going until you cancel it, so you don't have to just have a 3-year coverage and pay $229 up front. You can do $80 a year, and you also have unlimited incidents of accidental damage protection, so it's not only 1 or 2 a year, and it's $99 for a body or screen replacement, or $300 for a whole new Mac. And I think this is the best warranty and insurance in the industry. And I wish Apple actually talked about this on stage. Now, the last one for number 9 is a simple one, but people keep asking me about it. I keep replying, and that is which color they should get. Now, it's a little bit funny, but my personal favorite is the midnight color because it's beautiful, but I would not recommend anybody buying it because it is an absolute fingerprint magnet. And not only a fingerprint magnet, it is hard to get the fingerprints off, and once you do, as soon as you touch it, they come right back. So personally, I would say go for the Starlight because it looks great, it's a newer color, and you don't have to deal with any of these issues. So thank you guys for watching. You guys could check out the links down below. Go ahead and click that circle above to subscribe because we have these ordered. We're gonna make a bunch of videos using different real world programs. Check out that video, and I'll see you in the next one.